and people live in their own homes, and then we provide the support that they need in their home so that they can live a full life and be a member of our community and participate in civic life. In order to do that, at this point, we have over 350 employees, and we are run by a volunteer board of directors. We have a 10-member board. We did just lose one board member, so we do have one board opening. We have a couple of board members who have been with Options since the formation of the organization, which is kind of astounding. And those board members sometimes ask whether they should step off so that there could be new perspectives. But having board members who have the history of the organization for so long has been really valuable to Options as an organization. We are funded through the state's long-term care system, which is complicated, and I won't begin to try to explain it. But essentially, each person we support is funded. They're qualified and they're funded, and then we figure out the supports that they need and provide those supports to people. This slide has a picture of a man whose name is Darwin, and Darwin actually just passed away about 10 days ago. But I'd like to just take a minute to tell a story about Darwin as a way to describe the types of support that Options provides. Darwin lived in a state institution for 47 years, and when he was 56 years old, because he made it very clear when there was an opportunity to do it, he wanted to leave that facility and kind of come back home. He was from Dane County. He wanted to come back. So we helped him do that and supported him to kind of figure out how does he live his best life. Darwin had cerebral palsy, and he didn't communicate verbally, but he was full of all sorts of vim and vigor, and wanted to try everything that he had missed out on. And he went dog sledding and downhill skiing and canoeing in Yellowstone and in Maine and in the Boundary Waters, and went to movies and plays and participated in his church, and was a very powerful advocate for people with disabilities. So we helped him achieve those things, but the core of it is about what Options does is help make sure that people have kind of a firm foundation, that they have what they need at home, that they have the support they need for physical and mental health needs on a day-to-day basis. Darwin needed people to assist him using equipment and things to get in and out of bed, and to take care of daily living tasks for him and with him. And that's somewhat typical of the support we provide for other people. There are people who don't need the same kind of physical assistance that Darwin needed, and they might need, like, for example, another kind of group of people we support are younger people who have autism or sensory motor differences, and they may need a really different type of support, but they may also still need staff with them 24 hours a day. So there are a few people we support still who need maybe 5 or 10 hours a week of support, but most people are kind of on the other end of that continuum. Hence, that staff ratio is kind of high relative to the number of people we support because of the significance of the needs that people have. So we are value-based in what we do, and we believe that people with disabilities have a right to live in a home of their own in the community, that they should have choice about where they live and with whom they live. They should have choice about how they spend their time and with whom they spend their time, and that they should be able to be an active part of community life. The community part has been greatly challenged because of COVID. It's been difficult to help people stay home. It's been, I think, it's been hard for everybody. It's been very, very challenging for people supported who have lost a lot of the rhythm and routine to their lives because of the loss of jobs, or the need to stay home because of COVID. A lot of people supported who have another organization that provided day support or vocational support. Many of those agencies have had to close for periods of time due to COVID, and it's been really an adjustment for everyone. The adjustment on our end was suddenly needing to provide, at one point it was 2,500 hours of additional support in a week. So we were organizationally challenged to do it, but figured it out. And I think another thing that we value highly and is just sticking with people over time through the ups and downs that come in people's lives and the challenges that people may experience, that we don't make an assumption that people's lives have to kind of stay in a certain range of support needs, that we will change the support as people's needs change, and we will try to help people figure out when they're having a hard time, what's going on and what we can do about that. And for a long time, the question about this, I mean, it may seem, kind of an odd thing, but this question about who loves this person has been important for us because so many of the people we supported for many, many years had lost their family connections. And Darwin's story is typical of that. He was 8 years old when he had to leave his family and move into an institution. So he grew up in an institution, and years ago, families were told, you have to cut ties, don't go, don't stay in contact. Even if they had a way to do it, in 1945, when, you live in Dane County and your family member has been moved to Chippewa Falls, they were just told not to do it. So helping people kind of rebuild those kinds of connections and forge new relationships, because everybody needs them. And so many people with intellectual and developmental disabilities who lived in institutions for a large part of their life lost those relationships. We try to highly value learning and continue to learn. And I think in the last probably 10 years, a lot of the focus has been about learning more about sensory motor differences and kind of that broad umbrella of autism. We all hear a lot about autism. Very few of us at this point probably aren't touched by it in our lives somehow, of a family member with that label. It's a kind of a broad range of neurologic differences that for some people it's a matter of just kind of understanding it and working around the challenges that might be there for them. And for other people, it's really significant. So we've worked hard to learn a lot about that and be able to provide good support to people who have significant needs in that area, and also to understand and support people with an understanding about trauma, because there's no way you can be removed from your family when you're 8 years old and placed in an institution and not experience trauma. And there's a picture of someone that went by earlier with the tie-dye t-shirts. She lived in 21 institutions before we met her when she was 30 years old. 21 institutions by that time. And so it's just trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. So understanding that and trying to provide our support with that perspective makes a big difference, and being able to help people have good lives. Our Chicago Bears fan here has really significant traumas in his early life, and it caused him to have a very, very, very challenging period in his life. and he's now, you know, a tax-paying, hardworking citizen of Dane County, and there's nothing that makes him more restless than having a day off from work. So he's always hard at it. I intentionally put COVID-19 upside down on this because it turned everything upside down for us. As I said before, that just, a lot of people lost other support services they had. We had to really increase what we were able to provide. We struggled to source PPE, which we needed desperately. I actually learned how to import directly from China early on as a way to make sure that we had the right PPE for our staff, which was slightly terrifying to me because I had to just kind of have faith in a person that I had connected with in Madison who was Chinese American and worked for a medical device company. And he and a small group of Chinese Americans in Madison had directly imported through their own connections about 10,000 N95 masks, and then we're donating them. And we had been working with Dane County Emergency Management about getting PPE, and they told us that this group had some masks to donate, and so we connected with them and got a small number of, not just for options, but for we're part of a coalition of provider agencies, and I think maybe we got 2,000 masks in that donation, which at the time was just felt like a life-saving thing because we otherwise couldn't get them. And I worked through the person who had organized that to make this connection in China. But, it was scary because I had to, wire $50,000 somewhere in China and hope that masks were going to show up. So the day they actually got delivered to the office was a happy day. So we find the little things to celebrate in it. There was a point where I think we had 20 to date. I think we're at 28 staff who have been COVID positive. We had a few weeks where we had as many as 50 staff at a time who were quarantined and not able to work, which just really stressed all the rest of our systems. And every day just kind of felt like, what's going to happen today? But at this point, we see that the light at the end of the tunnel, maybe, that we think is not another train coming. And we probably about 65% of our staff are in the vaccination process right now. As I'm sure you're hearing in the news, a lot of frontline workers who are eligible are turning down their opportunity to get vaccinated, which we try to approach with thoughtfulness and understanding and individual staff circumstances, and try to work it through so that as many staff as possible can feel confident getting vaccinated. We've been really fortunate that it's through Dane County Public Health, or Madison-Dane County Public Health, that they have been running vaccination clinics for unaffiliated Tier 1 healthcare workers, which includes our staff. So that's great. And some people we support are just on the edge of starting to get vaccinated. And are eligible in Tier 1B. Some are eligible now because of age. So we're starting to see some hope that the number of infections and the quarantine issues will go down. And so then I'm just, thought I would just kind of finish what I was going to say by talking a little bit about in 2021. Our offices, we have about 65 staff who work out of our office, administrative staff, and then support coordinator staff who come and go, kind of working half at home and half in the building at this point. But we've rented here for almost 40 years, and the building outlived its useful life about 15 years ago. We literally have holes in the floor in conference rooms, and windows are about to fall out. And we've been looking for space to move, because our landlord was kind of extending our lease little by little, but said essentially we need to tear that place down. So we finally found our place, and it's taken us about a year, but we closed on it at the beginning of January, and through a really great partnership with Oak Bank, we have financed that in a way that we believe it will be affordable and sustainable for us. So it's on the east side of Madison, just right off of Highway 51, Cottage Grove Road, and Dempsey. It's a building that was built in 2019, and the other half of the building on the first floor is that City of Madison Pinney Library. So it's a great space for us to be, and the strategic plan that our board had worked on a couple of years ago includes being able to expand our services further once we have more space for staff, because we were completely out of space. And I think the other focus for us in 2021 will be continuing work on advocacy around long-term care services, and making sure that people supported have access to the services they need to live good lives. So that's kind of options in a nutshell. And I would stop screen sharing if I could figure out how. Not sure I know how.
I think it's at the top of the screen. There's this pause, stop screen sharing. It's like a little bar that might be at the top of your screen.
Well, there is a little bar up there. Stop sharing, sure enough.
Okay.
I accidentally shut off your webcam there, Jim.
I did.
Oh, you did? No, I think I did on accident. I was just.
All right.
Yep. Thank you.
I don't know if I can figure out how to turn it back on. Oh, there it is. Okay, got it. Sorry, it keeps hopping from screen to screen on me. Can you tell that technology is not my greatest skill?
Ours either.
I think we're learning it each time we learn something new.
Yeah, you'd think I'd be better at it by now, but.
You have a lot of company.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, there are things about remote meetings that will never go back. There are some that it's just going to be better to do that way, but we're really people, and we miss being able to just get in a room with people and sort things out, because it's just more effective.
So yeah, all your clients live in their own homes. Is that what you said?
That's correct.
So nobody's institutionalized as a client of yours. Is that right?
Right. I mean, what we do, what it's called is supported living, and so we are helping people to find that place they're going to live, help them in whatever ways we need to support their housing. I mean, sometimes. Maybe about 10% of the people we support actually own their own home. And so they may own it because they had support from their family to be able to purchase. There's an organization, it's a statewide organization, but they're located in Madison, called Moving Out. And they work with the Federal Home Loan Bank and City of Madison and other funding sources to provide down payment assistance for people or families with a family member with a disability. So some people we support who really wanted to be homeowners have worked with Moving Out and found a way to buy their own home. In a few situations, that's a condo. In other situations, it's a freestanding single-family home. But that's right. We support people to live in their own home, to be a part of community, and then we provide whatever support they need.
Well, I know it varies, but on the average, how many times do people who meet the program visit clients in the course of a week or something like that?
So I missed part of that. Say it one more time.
Well, I know that they're all in their own homes, that kind of thing. But how often does your staff visit them on a weekly basis?
Sure. So probably at this point, close to 70% of the people we support have staff with them 24 hours a day, or have staff with them maybe all but 10 o'clock at night until 6 in the morning. And then we use there's another organization that has an electronic monitoring system that works for some people at night, so that if there's an emergency that they can get help really quickly. But then, the staff who are support coordinators, it varies a lot depending on who the person is and the complexity of the support, but they may be there, 3, 4, 5 times a week to spend time with the direct support staff and help sort things out and make sure that needs are all met. There are the other people on the other end of that continuum who have more autonomy day to day, and they may have, between 5 hours and 20 hours a week of support time, and it may vary week to week depending on what's going on. There are a few people that are really quite autonomous, and they need some help once they've kind of gotten things established. They just need help to kind of make sure that things are going okay, and if something comes up, to help with that, but don't need a lot of day-to-day support. But most of the people we support are on the other end of that continuum at this point. 40 years ago, that was different.
Yeah. Do you provide transportation?
We do. We actually have 1, 2, 3 lift-equipped vehicles at this point. And then we also provide transportation just in staff cars to, go here and there. We're not doing much of that during COVID because of the safety issues about it. We don't typically transport people like back and forth to work. And transportation is a complicated topic, but we do provide a lot of it. There are actually quite a number of people we support where we do have a dedicated vehicle that's just for their use, because it's the only transportation that will work for them. Because when I was talking about supporting people with sensory motor differences, we actually, I'm not sure if it's because we got kind of good at it that more people kept asking us to do it, but there is at this point a significant number of people, of younger people with significant autism that we support, and they all need pretty intensive support. So they all have a dedicated vehicle because they can't ride with anybody else, and they need a little separation from the driver. So we've figured some of that out. It doesn't work for them to take the bus or use specialized transportation where you don't know who's going to be on the ride and you can't kind of control the environment of it.
Yeah. All right.
We pay a lot of money for liability coverage. Yeah.
Sure sounds like you have a great program. That's for sure.
Well, we try hard. We try hard to keep the focus on the each individual that we support and to provide the best support we can.
Sure sounds that way.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's always easier to talk about it than to do it.
Yeah.
So do you have counselors who are helping them also, or you're just the housing part of it?
Well, we provide the support. And we help people find the housing. We don't provide the housing. So counselors, like maybe, I mean, we help people access the other services they need. So, you know, we help people get the medical care they need. We help people find whatever that service is that they may need, and we help them participate in it. You know, we don't have a nurse on staff. We have a nurse that we contract with some who can help if there's a nursing need for someone, or our staff need to be trained to follow a new procedure, or we want a nurse to make sure we've got a procedure correctly set for somebody. But we're not, you know, we're not a medical provider ourselves.
Okay. How are you directing these people to receive their COVID vaccine?
We're working with people's primary clinics and their primary physicians to make sure that they get them as soon as they become eligible. The majority of the people we support at this point do have a legal guardian, and we've planned ahead and have been talking to guardians, you know, since the end of the year about let's make sure you've got the information. Let's make sure their primary agrees that it's safe for them to get the vaccine, and to have everybody ready, because what we know is when the opportunity comes, you don't have much time to, you know, am I going to do this or not? Actually, just yesterday, 15 people we support were able to get vaccinated through a strange little opportunity through a housing provider that was running a clinic somehow with the state and Walgreens as the vaccinator. A few people were tenants of this housing provider, and so they were eligible because of that. Again, I don't really understand the mechanism. And then on Friday afternoon, they called and said, you know, we have room for 10 more people. So we scrambled around and got the consents and, you know, made that happen. So 15 people, which is a significant number, got their first vaccination yesterday.
Oh, that's great.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Party.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yes, it is.
That is.
Yeah. We're going with the, you know, no one is safe until everyone is safe, thinking about it, that, you know, we have to keep moving this forward to help as many people as possible get vaccinated. But people we support are really vulnerable, and they're made even more vulnerable by their need for assistance and having direct support staff come into their homes who may have been in someone else's home and you know, may have another job working somewhere else where their exposure risk is higher, or they live with people doing essential work with higher exposure risks. So I think that's why we've seen more COVID. We did great until October, and I completely blame the university and having brought the students back for that huge uptick.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think their testing scheme this time will work better.
What do you do to try to encourage your staff members who are resistant to the vaccine? What do you do to encourage them to get?
Yeah, well, one, we're paying people to do it. So they, you know, get vaccinated on work time, and then once they have their vaccination card and provide us with a picture of that, we'll give them a cash bonus. That works for some people. We have worked with public health to get some more resources that speak more directly to communities of color about the safety of the vaccinations. We have encouraged staff who've raised religious concerns about the vaccination to talk with their local religious leaders to make sure that they have facts and not, you know, just scary things that they've heard from other people. We try to just have an individual conversation with people who are hesitant. There's an interesting, you know, group of people who are hesitant because they think, I'm young, I don't need to get it, other people should get it first. And that's sweet and thoughtful, but yet the people they're supporting are pretty vulnerable. And so we've really tried to encourage people to keep their place in line and go ahead with it. There are the needle phobic who just like, I can't get a shot. It's surprising how many people fall into that category, because I guess I'm not needle phobic, so I can't relate to it. But there was one person who was literally there, had done everything. They were bringing the syringe, and he saw it and freaked out and couldn't do it. And we haven't gotten him to go back yet, but we've offered to drive him and help him through it. He's a little humiliated, but he's pretty honest about that what happened.
Yeah.
Have you tried blindfolding him?
You don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think about as far as we could go was offering to have someone drive him and be there with him and, distract him. Distraction is useful.
Right, that's true.
Distraction is very useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell him next time you see him that he just needs to look away and think about something else, and tell him you met somebody on Tuesday who is needle phobic and is given 6 gallons of blood.
That's good. Congratulations. Yeah. That's
I have
much
a
larger
question.
too.
I have a question for you. We hear a lot about racial tensions these days and disparity between different kinds of services available. What is your ratio, black and brown to white, in your program?
The people we support, I'm going to do this just off of the top of my head, but I think because I haven't looked at those demographics in a little while, but I think about 11% of the people we support are African American or Asian background, which is much higher than the proportion of population of Dane County as a whole. But there was a point where we intentionally said, the numbers don't look right to us. We should be supporting more people who are of color. And, we said kind of to the, people out there, if you know someone who's looking for new services and falls into that category, suggest they talk to us, because we wanted to make sure that because the way the new people get services is messy. It's very, very messy. And if you are white middle class and more able to advocate and to have the time and the resource to sit down and call places, you're more likely to get the service that you want than if you don't fall into a category where you can do that. So we wanted to try to make ourselves more available to someone who wouldn't already know about us or who wouldn't have that time and resource to figure it out. And I think that helped us kind of, balance a little bit better numbers in terms of, making sure that there was some balance for us.
And what about your employees?
Skews very heavily toward people of color, very, very heavily. And in the last 10 years, it's many people who are from various different African countries who are immigrants, who are amazing, hardworking employees, many of whom English is not their first language. And so, we are challenged with that piece of being a good employer for people. But still, as a whole, it skews probably close to 50% of our employees are people of color.
Good.
Yeah.
No, it's very good.
Yeah, that is good.
Well, hopefully those people that are of color will serve as scouts for clients who are of color.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
They're the ones that have the contacts.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious then also just within the last year, has it been more difficult to bring people into the program, whether they're advocated for or not, just because of the circumstances?
Yes, it's been really challenging. And actually the other thing that, I mean, I, kind of hopped over it, but in the last year, if we count 12 months from February 1st of last year till now, I think 14 people supported by options have passed away. And one of those deaths was COVID related, and the rest were people who were older and expected or not surprising kind of, but it has been very difficult to be able to continue to support new people. I mean, it's always a little challenging when someone's passed and it's like, okay, now we have capacity to support someone else, but we try to always keep that moving, and it has been very hard with COVID.
Yeah.
It's just hard to be able to spend time with people and get to know people, and if they're going to possibly get matched up as a housemate with someone we already support, then everybody's worried about exposures, and we've tried to move slowly and carefully about it, but we have to keep it moving. But it has been hard, very hard.
Okay.
If I could just offer a comment on the trauma piece. I'm in behavioral health, and I learned recently that abandonment and neglect are also kinds of trauma. You don't have to be standing beside someone who is just shot. There are other kinds of trauma that are just as deeply hurtful.
Yes. Yes. And it happens to people with disabilities over and over in their lives for all kinds of reasons. Less in the kind of younger generations who were able to grow up with their families and attend public school, and it's not the same as it is for some older people who had those really big traumas of losing family and being just kind of put with strangers over and over and over. And institutions were not safe places. I'm not going to speak to them today, but they were not safe places for really vulnerable people. And the people that we support who are able to talk about what their lives were like living in those settings describe a lot of abuse. Sometimes from staff, but often from other people who were residents, who were also traumatized, and the cycle just kept going. So people have a lot of trauma, an awful lot. And then there are people like the amazing Darwin, who taught us all how to just be in the moment and find joy in everything that it was possible to do, and couldn't understand why people would think you should just go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. There's more to do. He was quite an amazing man.
Okay.
Well, I'm
Sounds
sure.
like he's done a lot of things that I'd like to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have to do much of de-escalating of mood and temperament?
So for certain groups of people we support, and if I think about kind of and to generalize in big ways, many of the younger people that we support who have that autism label, there have been so sensory motor differences and autism. I mean, it's a broad category of neurologic difference, but for many people, it means a lot of difficulty getting your body to do what you want your body to do. And that can turn into aggression toward other people. It can turn into aggression toward themselves. It can turn into property damage in their environment. And so we've tried to learn a lot about it and tried to understand how to support people to learn to regulate themselves, to have the supports they need, and to live their best life. And it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but you know, from kind of many of those young people we meet in institutions because they ended up having to live in a facility because their behavior was so out of control. And we figure out working with, you know, with them, with their family, with their providers, it's usually, you know, there's usually a psychiatrist involved and maybe an autism specialist. And we, you know, kind of figure out the support plan that is based on understanding the sensory motor issues to help people live good lives. And we haven't got it all figured out, and there are really rough days, but we've learned a lot about how to do it. And it's challenging, it's complicated, and it's person by person of figuring that out.
Well, good for you.
It's kind of fun too. It's certainly interesting.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Kim. I'm going to stop us at this point just based on time. But thank you so much for giving us your professional experience and the stories that you've had for people. So it's
well, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. All right. Have a good meeting. I'll go to my next one.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye. Stay safe.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Tim.
Okay.
So who's out there today? Meredith is there?
Yes. So we have Sue.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good.
We have Sue, Chase, Marissa, Meredith, and Bill.
Okay. Well, that's a
And Tom and Joey.
yep.
And Tom and Joey on the phone. Yep.
Right. So, aren't you all on the phone or computers? You're not in
Yes,
person
I
today,
did
right?
cancel the in-person today. Linda, David, and Hannah were all unable to make it, so at that point, I just made it all virtual today. So with that, if anyone starts to feel comfortable going forward, having their second shot, and then a few weeks after that, they want to make sure that we have the in-person option, just let me know, and then I can make sure that I am there. But otherwise, I'll remain at home until we know that people are going in person.
Let us know if you do go in person too, Tim. If I'm available, I'll always try to make it in person, but
okay. Yeah,
it doesn't always.
I'll make it in person. I can make each one in person, provided other people will show up. I don't want them to set up the room and set up the tables.
Right.
Yes.
We're not there.
Yeah, just make sure you let us know if you are going in person, though.
Okay. Yeah. If I hear anyone's going in person, I'll just say we're the in-person set up for this week, and I'll be there.
Cool.
Okay.
We're actually going to Zoom as a company.
Okay.
So next couple months, I would say it's going to take some time for us to actually make the switch over. But so we will go to meeting to Zoom.
Okay.
Here soon. So.
Oh, that would be better because then we can do Zoom on our computer.
Yeah. Good. Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joey knows how to do Zoom.
Well,
the other case, I was going to talk to.
I've been doing Bible study on Zoom and our condo landscape committee on Zoom, and also our condo board meetings.
A condo association.
Yeah, condo association board meetings. So Zoom is
to change it a little bit quicker. Also, then I was going to contact Mike Dellis. I think although I'm not sure, 6250 might have a Zoom platform available that we could use. It didn't start right away when we were doing these, so we never questioned to get on it. But in the last meetings, it sounded like they were using a Rotary platform for Zoom, a Rotary paid program for Zoom. So I was going to see if that was an option.
All right, that sounds good.
So.
All right, Meredith, are you still up for a phone call from me?
Let me think. Yes, I can do a phone call. I will be traveling, but I can do hands-free with it. So yeah, you can call me. Just wait until about a few minutes after 1 o'clock.
Okay, how about after like maybe 3?
After 3 would be fine.
Okay. All right, we'll do.
Well, with that,
right, I'll talk to you then.
Does anyone have anything else for the meeting?
And
thank you, Tim.
How are we doing with books and everything?
Marissa gave us a whole bunch. I put them out there. I did not check. I put them out last week, and then I haven't checked to see if they are still out there.
I've got to go. Bye, everybody.
Right.
Bye, Bill.
Bye, Bill.
Bye, Bill.
All right, bye, Bill. Be safe.
Hey, when is the next board meeting?
It's supposed to be next week. So David, Hannah, and Linda may not be available. So at that point, it would be Meredith and myself to discuss a few things that are happening. So if you have anything for the board meeting, let me know. I can't say.
Okay, we might.
We might have something.
Yeah, we might have something in the works, but
Bye.
okay. And how?
Bye, Marissa.
How's he doing it with his stroke, David?
So his doctors told him to reduce his stress.
Okay.
And then and he told me this, and so it's able to be. He doesn't mind people in the club knowing, but someone in his house tested positive for COVID. So he's like, that's not helping my stress. I've got to.
No.
He's going in today to get tested again.
Oh. Oh dear.